in the year 1352. In the glittering yet brutal court of France, love was not a gentle emotion, it was a weapon sharper than any sword. Sa Ararico Burion, a young knight, known for his unmatched valor, fell hopelessly in love with Lady Isolda, the Duchess's niece. Her beauty was like moonlight upon armor, soft, yet dangerous. But she was already promised to Lord Remy, a cruel noble favored by the king. When rumors spread of secret meetings between Isolda and Alaric in the castle gardens, Remy's pride boiled into fury. Before the royal court, he struck Alaric across the face with his glove in open challenge to a duel. The king approved, eager for spectacle. At dawn, in the courtyard still damped with dew, the men faced each other. The crowd fell silent as steel clashed and sparks danced in the air. Each blow was not only for love but for honor, dignity, and survival.
The duel lasted long, until Alaric, bleeding and trembling, thrust his blade into Remy's heart.
The lord fell dead before the crowd. Alaric thought he had one love, but Isolda was taken by royal guards, forced into a convent for shaming her family. The knight, broken and exiled, wandered the countryside haunted by her name. In medieval Europe, love was never a promise, it was a battle where victory always drew blood. In 1328, in the English Duchy of Kent, lived Lady Eleanor, a noble woman of striking grace, and Sir Thomas, a humble knight who served her father. Their love was pure, but Forbid's class divided them like an unscalable wall. When her father discovered their affection, his rage was boundless.
"If he truly loves you," he sneered,
"let him prove it with blood." A public duel was arranged against Lord Adrian, a man of noble birth and Eleanor's unwanted suitor.
on the morning of the combat, the square filled with nobles eager for drama.
The king's herald announced, "This duel shall decide honor and the right to love." The battle was savage. Thomas, though outmatched in armor and title, fought with desperate strength.
Blades clashed, shields splintered,
And the crowd gasped with every strike.
With one final thrust, Thomas pierced Adrian's chest. The crowd erupted, then fell silent as the king stood. He declared Thomas guilty of violating noble law. By dusk, the knight was hanged outside the castle gates. Eleanor, dressed in mourning black, stood beneath the gallows as the man she loved swayed in the cold wind. She never married. Their love became legend, a cruel reminder that in medieval England, honor was worth more than any heart. In the grand halls of Burgundy, the line between romance and rivalry was thin as silk. Lady Amara, a noble of unmatched charm, was courted by two powerful knights, Sir Geoffroy, bold and fiery, and Sir Lucian, graceful but proud. Each swore his devotion before the Duke, but Amara, torn between affection and fear, gave her answer to neither. Whispers turned to rumors, and pride to wrath. Lucian accused Geoffroy of seduction. Geoffroy called him a coward. The Duke, tired of their quarrel, declared a duel. Let the sword choose who deserves her. The morning of the duel was heavy with fog. Trumpets blared, banners flew, and the crowd pressed close as two men faced each other with death in their eyes. Steel clashed, shields cracked, and the air rang with the sound of desperation. Geoffroy fought like a man possessed, driven not by hatred, but by a burning love. In a moment of fury, he struck Lucian down. When Amara saw Lucian's body lifeless upon the ground, horror filled her heart. She turned from Geoffroy and fled the court, vowing never to marry. Her name faded into legend, and Geoffroy lived out his days in solitude, haunted by the duel that won him nothing but guilt. In that age, passion was war and no heart left the battlefield unscarred in Castile. 1374. Lady Elvira was the jewel of the kingdom, mired by lords, poets, and knights alike. Her laughter could charm the coldest soul. Two men, Sir Rodrigo and Sir Ernan, both valiant and noble, sought her hand. To end the rivalry, King Fernando ordered a formal duel, witnessed by the court.
but love made fools of them. Elvira's heart already belonged to Rodrigo. Yet no one could defy the king's command.
On the appointed day,
Banners waved, Trumpets sang, and the two knights met beneath the burning sun. They fought savagely.
Every strike of their blades echoed with heartbreak. Blood poured down Rodrigo's armor, yet his will did not falter. With one final desperate motion, he struck Hernan down. The crowd roared in until Hernan's mother screamed for vengeance. Elvira rushed to Rodrigo's side, weeping, but the king, fearing scandal, ordered her into exile and stripped Rodrigo of his title. Broken, he wandered the mountains until he vanished.
Some say he died of sorrow.
Others whisper he became a hermit, praying for her soul. Their love lived on in Songzi tale of two hearts, destroyed by Honor's cruel demands during the reign of King Edward III. Tournaments were not games, they were wars disguised as celebration. Each knight fought to prove his worth, often dedicating his blade to a lady of the court. For Sir Cedric of Cornwall, that lady was none other than Princess Aveline, the king's niece, a choice that would seal his fate. At the Grand Tournament of Westminster, Cedric publicly declared his devotion, offering his victory to her name. The crowd gasped. Lord Edmund, a powerful nobleman who secretly desired the princess, took offense. "You dare lay claim to royal blood," he thundered. The challenge was immediate, a duel to decide whose love was worthy. The clash was magnificent.
Armor rang like thunder as the two knights struck with fury.
Hours passed before Cedric's blade pierced Edmund's chest. Silence fell as the noble collapsed. Lifeless, Cedric dropped his sword, expecting praise, but the king's face was pale with rage. By nightfall, the princess was sent to a convent, and Cedric was exiled from England for his insolence.
Legends say he continued fighting across Europe, never again speaking her name.
His victories became meaningless because every sword he raised reminded him of the love that cost him everything. In the Middle Ages, knights fought for glory, but love was the wound that never healed. In 1389, in the Kingdom of Navarre, love was not a gift, it was a sentence. Lady Althea, daughter of a wealthy duke, fell for a wandering knight named Rowan, who had neither title nor land. Their secret meetings beneath the moon soon turned into whispers among the servants. When the Duke learned of the affair, his wrath was cold and calculated. He summoned Rohan and gave him a choice: renounce his love or fight for her hand in a sanctioned duel. But the opponent chosen was no ordinary. Manit was Sir Baldwin, the Duke's champion, a warrior who had slain dozens in combat.
Rohan accepted without hesitation.
The duel was held at dawn before the entire court.
Rohan fought with all the courage his love could give him, but Baldwin was a storm of steel.
Every strike shook the earth beneath them. At last, Rohan drove his sword through Baldwin's chest, but not before the knight's blade found his heart as well. Both men fell, dying within moments of each other. Lady Althea screamed and rushed forward, collapsing between their bodies.
The Duke, unmoved, ordered her confined to her chambers for life. Her laughter was never heard again.
Some say she died of grief within the year. Others claim she wandered the castle halls as a ghost, mourning the price of love paid in blood. In the royal court of Bohemia, love was often performed like theater, and every glance could start a war. The queen hosted grand tournaments where knights would dedicate their victories to the ladies who inspired them. Among the contenders stood Sir Victor, a young knight whose heart belonged to Lady Helena, the queen's own maid of honor.
When Victor publicly declared his devotion before the court, whispers spread like wildfire.
The queen's cousin, Lord Merrick, who secretly desired Helena, felt humiliated. His pride demanded satisfaction. "If you wish to love her," he spat, "then fight for her." The duel was arranged under the golden banners of Prague. The entire court gathered as drums thundered and swords were drawn. Victor fought like a man possessed, driven by the sight of Helena's tearful eyes in the crowd. He wounded Marek again and again until his blade struck true. But victory brought no joy. The queen, furious at the scandal, banished both Victor and Helena. They fled together across the countryside, living as fugitives, their noble titles stripped away. When winter came, Victor died, protecting her from bandits. Helena buried him by the river where they had first met, whispering, love was worth the blade. Their names vanished from history, but in old Bohemian songs, they live on the lovers who chose heart over crown. In 1421, the bustling city of Florence was ruled by beauty, art, and deadly pride. Among its noble families, the pursuit of love often ended in blood. Lady Caterina, the daughter of a powerful merchant, was known for her wit and grace. Two men vied for her affection: Lorenzo, a charming poet, and Giacomo, a ruthless soldier. Caterina admired Lorenzo's words but could not deny Giacomo's strength. Their rivalry festered until Giacomo, enraged by jealousy, struck the poet in the city square and challenged him to a duel. Though untrained in combat, Lorenzo accepted, believing love would lend him courage. At sunrise, they met by the Arno River. Witnesses gathered as the mist rolled across the water. The poet held a light rapier. The soldier, a heavy steel sang through the air. Lorenzo fought clumsily, but fearlessly. He even managed to wound Giacomo's arm, but the soldier's fury was unstoppable. One final strike sent the poet tumbling into the river, crimson spreading through the current. Caterina wept as Giacomo knelt before her, his sword dripping blood. "Now, none will take you from me," he said, but she turned away, whispering, "You have already lost me." Within a week, she fled Florence forever. The duel became legend, a poem written in both ink and blood. In medieval Germany, duels were not only fought between men, sometimes even women took up the sword. In 1477, Lady Greta of Saxony shocked the empire when she demanded trial by combat against her husband, Baron Ulrich, whom she accused of betrayal and cruelty. By law, a marital duel was allowed, but the rules were twisted. The man fought waist-deep in a pit with one arm tied, while the woman was given a stone wrapped in cloth. It was meant to humiliate, not to kill. But that day, fate had other plans. Before a roaring crowd, Greta stepped forward, her gown torn for movement, her face pale but fierce. Ulrich swung wildly from the pit, shouting curses. Greta dodged, struck, and the crowd gasped as the stone cracked his skull. The Baron fell, lifeless. The onlookers were stunned. Greta stood over him, trembling, as the judge declared, "Justice has been done." Yet victory brought her no peace. She was forced to flee Saxony, branded as cursed. For years, she wandered the lands, haunted by her own act. Her story spread through Europe, a woman who fought for her freedom and won it with blood. In the chronicles of medieval justice, her duel remains one of the most shocking acts of love and vengeance ever recorded. In every castle and court of the Middle Ages, courtship was not a gentle game, it was a dance with death. In the 13th century, in the court of Aragon, Lady Beatrice was courted by 3 knights: the brave Sir Hugo, the cunning Sir Raphael, and the jealous Sir Donato. She favored Hugo, but jealousy turned Raphael and Donato into enemies.
One evening, as music filled the great hall,
Donato insulted Hugo's honor, calling him a peasant in armor. The insult echoed through the chamber. Hugo struck him across the face, a challenge that could not be refused. A duel was declared, and Raphael, too, demanded his right to fight for Beatrice's hand. The 3 men faced each other in the royal arena. The crowd was wild, cheering as swords clashed beneath the crimson banners. Raphael fell first, a fatal wound to his chest. Donato, in blind rage, charged and met Hugo's blade in a final, brutal exchange.
when the dust settled, 2 knights lay dead, and Hugo collapsed, bleeding from a hidden wound.
Beatrice ran to his side, but it was too late. With his final breath, he whispered, "You were worth the pain." The king decreed no man would ever duel for her again. She never married her.
Beauty forever, cursed by the blood it had drawn.
In 1366, at the court of Burgundy, tournaments were the grand theater of love and pride. Every noble watched as armored men clashed, not for land or power, but for a woman's favor. Among them was Sir Renard, a knight of humble birth, who adored Lady Clarice, the duke's daughter. She was graceful and kind, but far beyond his reach. When Count Thierry, a vain nobleman, mocked Renard's affection and called him a beggar in armor, The insult was unbearable. Clarice's honor had been questioned, and by the code of chivalry, only blood could cleanse it. Renard challenged Thierry to a duel. At sunrise, the two met before the Duke's court. The crowd cheered as steel clashed and sparks danced. Thierry fought with arrogance. Renard with desperation. Every strike was driven by the image of Clarice's tearful eyes. When Thierry's sword glanced off his armor, Renard countered, plunging his blade deep into the Count's chest. The noble fell dead. Though victorious, Renard was exiled for spilling noble blood. Clarice sent him secret letters for years, sealed with red wax and sorrow. He died fighting in a distant crusade. His last words said to be her name. The bards still sing of him, the knight who fought not for fame, but for love that no kingdom could bless. In the Highlands of Scotland, love often ended in war. Lady Morowena, the daughter of a clan chief, was courted by two warriors. Duncan, her childhood friend, and Alistair, a visiting knight whose charm and wealth dazzled her father. Morwena's heart belonged to Duncan, but her father chose Alistair to strengthen alliances. When the truth of her affection was revealed, Alistair's pride ignited like wildfire. He accused Duncan of dishonor before the entire clan hall, demanding a duel at dawn. The challenge was accepted, not out of hatred, but because Duncan knew no other way to prove his heart. They met in the misty glen, the air thick with tension. The sound of broadswords clashing echoed through the hills. Duncan fought fiercely but was wounded deeply. As Alistair raised his blade for the final strike, Morwena threw herself between them, crying out, "Enough!" The sword pierced her side, crimson spreading across her gown. Alistair dropped his weapon in horror, realizing too late what his pride had cost.
Morwenna died in Duncan's arms, whispering his name with her final breath.
The feud between their clans burned for decades. In the end, all that remained was a tale sung by travelers, a song of jealousy, love, and the sword that ended both. In 1405, in the Kingdom of France, a forbidden love blossomed between Lady Genevieve, the Queen's lady-in-waiting, and Sir Etienne, a knight sworn to the King's Guard. Their meetings were stolen moments, glances across the banquet hall, letters passed in secret, promises whispered in shadow. But one night, the Queen herself discovered them. Furious at the betrayal, she accused Genevieve of treason and ordered Etienne to face trial by combat against Sir Roland, the royal champion. If Etienne survived, both would be spared. If not, their love would die with him. The duel took place before the entire court. Etienne entered the arena wounded from a previous campaign, yet determination burned in his eyes. Roland fought with royal fury, his armor shining like the sun. The clash was merciless. Two warriors fighting not just for survival, but for something divine. Etienne struck first blood, then again, until both men were gasping. With a final cry, he drove his blade into Roland's chest, but not before Roland's sword found his heart. They fell together, dying on the same earth. Genevieve ran to him, weeping as he whispered, "We will meet again where no kings rule." She was executed at dawn. Their graves lay side by side, marked only by two entwined roses. In the Kingdom of Normandy, Lady Adeline was admired by all, pure, intelligent, and the daughter of the Count. Two knights sought her hand: Sir Roderick, brave but poor, and Lord Tristan, a wealthy warrior favored by her father. Adeline's heart, however, belonged to Roderick. When her father announced her betrothal to Chistone, Roderick challenged him before the court. "If I am not worthy to marry her," he declared, "let the sword decide." Tristan, insulted, agreed instantly. The duel was held in the castle courtyard under gray skies. Rain fell as the two knights met in a storm of steel. Each fought with ferocity, Tristone with arrogance, Roderick with devotion. As thunder rolled, Roderick's blade finally struck true, piercing Tristan's armor.
But as he fell, Tristan's dagger slashed across Roderick's throat. Both men collapsed in the mud, lifeless.
Lady Adeline screamed and ran to them, her gown drenched in blood and rain.
She refused food and comfort for days, until her heart gave out.
They buried her beside them, the three graves forever silent, beneath the weeping sky. The villagers still whisper that on stormy nights, her ghost walks the courtyard, searching for the knight who died for her love. In medieval Italy, in the city-state of Verona, honor ruled stronger than love. Lady Bianca, daughter of a merchant prince, and Sir Lucio, a knight of low birth, shared a forbidden romance. When Bianca's brother discovered their secret, he branded Lucio a seducer and challenged him to a duel to cleanse the family's shame. Bianca begged them both to stop, but neither would yield.
"A man's word is his blood," said Lucio. And the duel was set at dawn beside the river.
They met as the city bells tolled.
The water glistened red with sunrise as swords flashed.
Lucio fought with passion, the brother with fury. Every strike was personal, every wound a scream of the heart. When Lucio finally disarmed his opponent, he stepped back, refusing to kill.
But Bianca's brother, burning with humiliation, drew a dagger and lunged.
Lucio struck instinctively, driving his sword through the man's chest. As he fell, soldiers arrived to arrest Lucio for murder. Bianca rushed forward, clinging to him, but the guards tore them apart. He was executed the next day, and she drowned herself in the same river that had witnessed their tragedy. Their story spread through Italy, two souls bound by love, destroyed by the pride of men who could not understand it. In 1391, at the royal court of Hungary, Lady Celeste was the most desired woman in the kingdom. Her beauty and charm ensnared every man who saw her. Among her admirers were two knights, Sir Anton, loyal and kind, and Sir Varin, proud and ruthless. Celeste's heart leaned toward Anton, but Varin's wealth and influence made him her family's favored match. When Anton confessed his love publicly, Varin was humiliated. He demanded satisfaction before the king trial by combat to decide who deserved her hand. The duel was arranged at dawn. The entire court gathered, their breath misting in the cold air as the two knights faced each other. Armor gleaming, hatred burning. The battle was fierce, echoing across the valley. Anton fought for love, Varin for pride. In the final moments, Anton's sword shattered Varin's shield and pierced his chest.
Blood spilled across the frozen ground as Varin gasped his last breath.
But victory turned to tragedy. As Anton approached Celeste, the king's guards seized him. Varin's family had bribed the court. They declared the duel unlawful. Anton was executed within the week. Overcome with grief, Celeste took her own life, leaving a letter written in trembling hands. "We fought for love, and love destroyed us all." Their graves remained side by side, untouched for centuries, a silent warning that in the Middle Ages, love triangles rarely ended with hearts, only blood. In 1348, the plague ravaged Europe, but even death could not silence the madness of love. In the city of Avignon, Sir Raoul, a knight returned from crusade, became infatuated with Lady Ameline, a young widow known for her beauty. To him, her smile was salvation itself.
During a royal feast, Raoul dared to kiss her hand before the court, a gesture innocent to most, but forbidden by the laws of mourning.
Her cousin, Lord Peer, saw it as an insult to the family's honor and challenged Raoul to a duel at sunrise. The next morning, the courtyard shimmered with dew as two men faced each other. Raoul bowed to Ameline, whispering, "For your honor, my lady." Then the swords began to sing. The duel was savage, each strike a declaration of devotion and fury. Raoul fought valiantly, but Peer's rage was unmatched.
With a fatal blow, he pierced Raoul's heart.
As the night fell, he smiled faintly and murmured, "The kiss was worth it." He died before her feet, his blood pooling like wine upon the stone. Lady Ameline fainted, and within weeks she too succumbed to grief for perhaps the plague. Their tales spread through the kingdom, remembered in songs as the kiss of death, a reminder that in the age of chivalry, even a single kiss could cost a man his life. In 1452, in the castle of Artois, Lady Juliana's love story began as a fairy tale and ended in ruin. She was married to Lord Corbin, a powerful noble, yet her heart belonged to his squire, Alenga, young man whose loyalty turned to forbidden passion. 4 months they met in secret, their whispers echoing through candlelit halls. But no secret lasts forever. One night, Corbin discovered them. He said nothing, only smiled coldly, and the next morning, he announced a tournament in honor of love. Alling knew it was a trap, yet he entered, for Juliana's sake. Before hundreds of spectators, Corbin faced Aleng in the final match. It was no tournament, it was an execution. The older lord fought with fury, each strike filled with humiliation and betrayal. Aleng, though faster, could not match his strength. At last, Corbin disarmed him and drove his sword through the young man's chest. Juliana screamed as Aleng fell. That night, she poisoned her husband's wine, watching silently as he gasped his last breath. When the guards found her the next morning, she was dead too, her lips stained red. Their story became a whispered legend, a tale of love that turned to vengeance, and vengeance that turned to tragedy. In 1415, England was a realm divided by power and scandal.
Among its nobility,
None were more admired than Sir William de Clare, knight of unshakable honor, and Lord Edmund Grey, his closest friend. Their bond was as strong as brotherhood, until a woman came between them. Lady Eleanor, a widowed countess, captured both their hearts. She was graceful, intelligent, and cunning. When both men sought her hand, she made no choice, allowing jealousy to fester between them. Soon, whispers filled the court claims that Eleanor secretly favored William. Enraged, Edmund confronted his friend in the Great Hall, accusing him of betrayal. William denied it, but the damage was done. In front of the king himself, Edmund threw down his glove. "Let God decide who is the liar," he declared. The duel was brutal. Both knights fought with skill and sorrow, their friendship breaking with each strike. Finally, William's blade pierced Edmund's throat. The king rose in horror as the crowd fell silent. Eleanor fainted, overwhelmed by guilt. Days later, she took the veil, entering a convent for life. William never fought again. He was said to wander the countryside, haunted by the ghost of his friend. The kingdom remembered their duel not as a fight for love, but as the tragedy that proved even the purest friendship could be destroyed by a woman's silence. Throughout medieval Europe, duels were the cruel offspring of love and ego. But none was more infamous than the tragedy of Count Lorenzo di Ferrara and Sir Matteo of Siena. Both sought the love of Lady Lucia, a noblewoman whose beauty was said to rival angels. Lucia's heart favored Lorenzo, but Matteo's pride could not bear rejection. He accused the Count of cowardice before the royal court, forcing him to accept a duel. It was to be fought with long swords at dawn. Before witnesses from every house of nobility, the air was cold, heavy with dread. The two men fought fiercely, neither yielding an inch. Blood splattered across the marble courtyard as Lucia watched from the balcony, tears in her eyes. After a final exchange, Lorenzo drove his sword through Matteo's heart, only to be struck moments later by Matteo's dagger. Both men fell, lifeless. Lucia screamed and ran to them, collapsing beside their bodies. She took her own life the next day, unable to bear the weight of their deaths. The king ordered their names erased from records, but the people never forgot. For centuries, travelers spoke of the Ferrara duel, where 3 hearts burned too brightly and turned to ash. In 1376, beneath the towering walls of Castle Montclair, a secret love burned between Lady Isabel and Sir Rowan, a knight sworn to her father's service. Their stolen glances became whispered vows under the moonlight. But fate is never kind to forbidden love. When Isabel's betrothal to the Duke of Lorraine was announced, Rohan begged her to flee with him. She refused, torn between duty and desire. The Duke soon discovered their secret and demanded satisfaction by duel. Refusing meant death by dishonor, accepting meant facing a man twice his rank. At midnight, beneath a pale moon, they met in the castle courtyard. Torches flickered as steel clashed.
Rohan fought like a man possessed, each strike fueled by love's fury.
But the Duke was seasoned and cruel.
With one final thrust, he pierced Rowan's chest.
Isabel screamed, rushing to his side as he whispered,
Better to die loving you than live without you. The Duke ordered her locked away. But by dawn, she was gone, her body, found beside Rowan's grave. A dagger through her heart.
The castle servants swore that on every full moon, two shadows still duel beneath the walls, fighting eternally for a love that defied the crown.
In 1433, in the small French village of Brisser-Morane, love dared to cross the boundaries of class. Elise, the daughter of a nobleman, fell in love with Thomas, a humble blacksmith. Their meetings were secret, hidden in barns and candlelit fields. But secrets in the Middle Ages never stayed buried long. When Lord Benute, Elise's father, learned of their affair, he was enraged. He announced her betrothal to a rich baron and ordered Thomas executed. In desperation, Thomas threw himself at the noble's feet and demanded a trial by combata peasant's impossible request. Yet the court, amused by his courage, granted it. The duel was cruelly unfair. Thomas faced a trained knight in full armor while he wore only leather and hope. The crowd mocked him, but Elise watched in silent terror. Against all odds, Thomas struck Trahis's hammer, shattered the knight's sword, and crushed his helm. The crowd fell silent. Before he could celebrate, archers loosed arrows at him. He fell beside the man he'd defeated, blood staining the dirt. Elise broke free, collapsing over his body. That night, she fled the castle and was never seen again. Villagers say the forge still burns alone at night, lit by love's ghostly fire. In 1321, Queen Adela of Normandy ruled beside a cold, aging king. Her life was gilded but lonely until a young knight, Sir Damien, was appointed her protector.
Their bond began with loyalty and turned into something dangerous, something divine.
For months, their love was hidden beneath veils of secrecy. But rumors travel faster than truth. When the king learned of their affair, he declared a duel between Damien and his royal champion, Sir Bertram, a warrior known for never losing. In front of the court, the two men faced each other. The queen watched from her throne, her face pale but resolute. The duel was fierce, Damien's youth against Bertram's experience. Steel rang through the air like thunder. Finally, Damien struck Bertram down, blood soaking the sand. The crowd gasped as the king stood. "You have proven your strength," he said coldly, "but not your innocence." Guards seized Damien, and by sunset, he was executed. Queen Adela fell to her knees beside his lifeless body. She swore never to speak again. For the rest of her days, she wore only black, her silence echoing louder than any confession. In secret chronicles, she became known as the widow of a living King Jacquin who loved once and lost everything. In 1402, the Kingdom of Castile was torn apart, not by war, but by love. Princess Renata, known for her golden hair and kindness, was courted by two men, Prince Alaric of Leon and Duke Ferdinand of Navarre. Both were powerful, both desperate to win her heart. When Renata refused to choose, the rivals decided to let God's will decide through a duel to the death. The king forbade it, but pride is a beast no crown can tame. At dawn, the two met in a hidden valley. The sky was red with sunrise as swords clashed and blood spilled. Renata arrived too late, galloping in as Ferdinand struck the killing blow. But Alaric's final thrust found its mark too. They died in each other's arms, enemies united in death. Renata fell to her knees, her screams echoing through the valley. She ordered their bodies buried side by side and built a chapel over their graves. She never married, devoting her life to prayer. Travelers say the valley still whispers with the sound of clashing swords where pride and passion turned love into tragedy. Eternal. In 1467, during England's Wars of the Roses, love bloomed in the shadow of blood. Lady Eleanor of York and Sir Richard of Lancaster belonged to rival houses sworn to destroy each other. Yet when their eyes met across a battlefield, they saw not enemies but destiny. They met in secret, their hearts defying centuries of hatred. But when Eleanor's brother discovered their affair, he offered Richard a choice: renounce her or face him in combat before both armies. Richard chose love.
The duel was held at dawn. the two banners fluttering behind.
Them red, rose, and white.
The fight was merciless, a storm of steel and sorrow. In the final moment, Richard disarmed his foe, but hesitated. That moment of mercy cost him his life.
Eleanor's brother struck, and Richard fell.
Eleanor rushed to the field, clutching his body as arrows filled the sky. She was dragged away, screaming, her gown stained crimson. Legend says that where Richard's blood fell, red and white roses grew entwined, a symbol of love stronger than war. To this day, soldiers on that land swear they hear her voice on the wind, whispering his name with every petal that falls. In 1385, in the Italian city of Verona, love and vengeance met beneath a blood-red dawn. Lady Beatrice, daughter of a merchant lord, was promised to Count Darno, a cruel man of influence. Yet her heart belonged to Lorenzo, a poet and swordsman whose verses made nobles weep. When their affair was discovered, Darno demanded justice. "If he loves her," the count said before the duke, "let him prove it with steel." A duel was declared, no armor, no mercy, no dawn witnesses. At midnight, beneath the torchlit ruins outside the city, the two men faced each other. Lorenzo fought with the desperation of a man who had nothing but love. Darno fought with the pride of a man who had everything to lose. Their blades clashed again and again until Lorenzo's sword broke through the count's guard and pierced his heart.
He stumbled back, eyes wide, falling into the dark river below.
When Lorenzo returned to Beatrice, bleeding and broken, she smiled through tears. "We're free now," she whispered, but Verona's law declared any man who killed a noble to hang. By dawn, Lorenzo was executed. Beatrice vanished the same night.
Legend says she joined a convent near the river, where the waters still whisper the echo of a duel fought for love.
In 3010, the kingdom of Bavaria knew of a love so fierce it became a legend. Lady Katerina, daughter of a baron, was in love with Otto, a knight sworn to another lord. Their affair was discovered when a servant found a letter sealed with a drop of blood, a vow to love until death. Katerina's father accused Otto of seduction and challenged him to a duel. The baron was old, but pride can turn even frailty into fury. Before the entire court, they fought in the castle courtyard. Otto could have disarmed him, easily, but refused to strike, out of respect. The baron took advantage of his mercy and drove a dagger into his chest. As Otto fell, Katerina ran forward, screaming. She seized the dagger from his wound and plunged it into her father's heart. Both fell beside each other, father and daughter, killer and lover. The story spread across Europe as the blood oath of lovers, and in some villages, couples still cut their palms and press them together, whispering, "Love or death, never both." In 1429, in Normandy, two brothers, Sir Albin and Sir Gerard, served the same king, fought the same wars, and loved the same woman.
Lady Chalaine, daughter of a noble courtier, never meant to come between them.
But when both confessed their love, she could not choose.
Their bond turned to jealousy, their loyalty to hatred.
One night, after a feast, they agreed to settle the matter as knights and brothers. The duel took place in a forest clearing, lit only by moonlight. For an hour, they fought, each blow echoing with fury and heartbreak. In the end, Albin's sword found its mark. Gerard fell to his knees, whispering, "She's yours, brother, but her heart will never forgive you."
Albin buried him there, beneath a single oak.
When he returned to the castle, Chalaine fled from him, broken by guilt. She took vows as a nun, vowing never to speak of love again. Albin vanished from history. Some say he became a hermit in the same woods, guarding his brother's grave. The people called it the Forest of Regret, where love once tore blood from family. In 1352, England's throne trembled under rumor. Prince Edward, heir to the crown, was accused of stealing the wife of his own knight.
Sir Rohan Hale, the queen demanded. Proof so?
The knight challenged his prince to trial by combat.
The court fell silent. No one had ever dared such defiance. Yet the law of God allowed it. Edward accepted. Let the Almighty decide who speaks truth. The duel was brutal.
Rowan fought with righteousness, Edward with desperation.
When the prince's sword shattered, Rowan lowered his blade. But in a flash of pride, Edward seized a dagger and drove it into the knight's chest. Rohan fell, gasping. A false king rules no one. Days later, Edward was crowned, but his reign was cursed. His armies failed. His queen bore no heirs, and he was said to wake screaming from dreams of blood and iron. The royal chronicles erased the duel, but the people never forgot. They whispered, "A crown won with blood will always bleed." In 1448, in Bohemia, a legend was born of two lovers who fought side by side. Seraphine, a noblewoman trained in secret with the sword, fell in love with Lucien, a common soldier. Their affair defied every law of class and faith. When her father discovered their secret, he condemned Lucien to death. Seraphine refused to watch him die. "If he must fight for love," she said, "then so will I." She demanded a double duel, both of them against her father Issachausen Championza. The crowd roared in disbelief as the pair entered the ring. Steel clashed against steel. Lucien fought with ferocity, Seraphine with precision. Together, they defeated their foes, but not without cost. Lucien fell from a mortal wound, and Seraphine, bleeding from her side, crawled to his body. She pressed her lips to his and whispered, "We won, my love." Then she too was still. Their tomb became a shrine to statues entwined, swords crossed above them. To this day, lovers leave roses there, whispering the vow they made famous. Better to die together than live apart.